The fight of red versus blue has finally come to techsceneza, because today we're looking at the Vivobook 15 OLED, and this sports an AMD Ryzen 7 series processor in it. So if you want to find out how does an AMD processor fare in a laptop and what is one of the most sleekest 15-inch OLED laptops that you can purchase, then you better watch this video all the way to the end. Everything is smoother with the powerful Asus Vivobook 15 OLED. This is a feature-packed laptop with a brilliant 15Hz OLED display that has a cinema-grade 100% DCI-P3 gamut. So when it comes to actual features, again, this has the AMD Ryzen 77730U processor that has 8 cores and 16 threads. It has 16 megabits of cache and can be clocked at up to 4.5 gigahertz with max boost. When it comes to RAM, this laptop features 16 gigs of DDR4 memory that runs at 3200 megahertz. And when it comes to graphics, it has the AMD Radeon graphics built in. In terms of storage, this has 512 gigabit M.2 NVMe PCIe 3.0 SSD storage. And from a build perspective, right, this is 36 centimeters by 26 centimeters by 1.9 centimeters. Just like all the other Asus laptops we've been seeing so far, this has the military grade standard 810H, and it has the 180-degree lay flat hinge. In terms of weight now, this comes in a little heavier compared to the Vivobook 14, where this comes in at 1.7 kilograms, but is still absolutely light. The screen is a 15.6 OLED screen, which has full HDR resolution of 2880 by 1620p. It has 120 Hz refresh rate, 0.2 milliseconds response time, and a 600 nit brightness. In terms of battery, this laptop has a 50 watt-hour battery built in and can be recharged, and that battery can be recharged by a 65 watt AC adapter with an output of 19 volts. In terms of IOs, this has one USB 2.0 Type A port. It has one USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type C that actually still supports power delivery. It has two USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A ports. It has one micro HDMI 1.4 port, and it also has one 3.5mm combo head jack. In terms of connectivity, this supports Wi-Fi 5 as well as it supports Bluetooth 5.1. Keyboard is the backlit chiclet keyboard, which we've seen in most of the Asus laptops so far, with the 1.35mm travel keys, and the keys feel as great as ever. These keys feel a little firmer compared to the others, and I don't know, maybe it's just me. I like them some places and some places I don't like them. In terms of the touchpad, it has a precision touchpad built in, which is rather larger. It's slightly offset to the left hand side, and the touchpad actually has a fingerprint reader built into the touchpad, and it's not built into the power key like on some of the other laptops we've seen. Something really cool is that this laptop can inhibit 99% of viruses and bacteria with the Asus Microbial Guard Plus. And to keep the processor cool, the Asus Vivobook 15 actually uses an ice blade fan with dual air vents to efficiently accelerate heat transfer for smooth and stable performance of this AMD processor, so that you do not experience any thermal throttling on the processor. So how does this differ compared to the Asus Vivobook 14, which we reviewed not so long ago? Firstly, we have the display. So the display on the Asus Vivobook 14 is obviously, as the name suggests, a 14-inch display, And on the Asus Vivobook 15, this is a 15.6-inch display. In terms of graphics, the 14 had the Intel Iris Xe, and in terms of graphics here on the 15 we have the AMD Radeon. In terms of processors, the Asus Vivobook 14 had the i7-1355U processor, and here we have the Ryzen 7773U processor. From a weight perspective, the Asus Vivobook 14 weighed in at 1.4 kilograms, and the Asus Vivobook 15 weighs in at 1.7 kilograms. On the Asus Vivobook 14, we also saw the screen which had a 3-side slim nano edge display bezel, and it was a 2.8K 120Hz OLED display. And that's pretty much most of the differences between the 14 and the 15 that we've had our hands on. So now, who is this marketed towards? This is basically an all-rounder. You can work with your spreadsheets and you can do your video editing without having to switch devices. When it comes to differentiating between AMD and Intel, I spent close to 2 weeks trying to figure out, hey, you know what, which is different or which is better. And my results were inconclusive, but they were conclusive in the same breath, meaning that they are so close together that you can't tell the difference. But it's also, I'm testing for 2 weeks, not like I'm going to provide a conclusive result and say, hey, AMD is better because I think X, Y, and Z. They are very, very close together, and it so happened that I came across one of Linus Tech Tips videos where he was doing an AMD versus an Intel build. And he also came to the same conclusion that they are very, very close together, neck and neck, and the only thing that differentiated them was the price difference. So now that we're talking about price difference, what does the Intel Asus Vivobook 15 OLED retail for? It retailed between 14,000 to 16,000 Rand, and it comes with an excellent set of 2 eye-catching colors. You can either choose charming indie black, which we have, or distinguished cool silver. So now, moving on to my personal opinions. So as I mentioned, I've spent 2 weeks trying to figure out Intel or AMD. And I think that everyone needs to get past the whole Intel AMD thing now, because they both are providing excellent performance and excellent games. It's good to see them neck and neck. They're constantly bettering each other. So that's the one good thing. And with that being said, as I mentioned, AMD does come in occasionally at slightly cheaper prices, and you can see that with this coming in at between 14 and 16,000 Rand, it is offering cheaper alternatives for high-end spec and performance laptops. Because I mean, I've spent 2 weeks testing, trying to figure out what's the difference. And with it being my first experience with AMD, the graphics were hundreds. I mean, 120 Hz display, 2.8K, absolutely crisp and amazing looking. Performance wise, dual vents, no overheating, everything was absolutely awesome. And I'm actually quite proud to say that for my first experience with AMD, it hasn't left a sour taste in my mouth. And who knows, I might even consider moving to AMD just for the sake of it, because we want to try out, I want to try out AMD in a long-term sense, and who knows. But anyway, let's put the AMD story and everything aside, and let's move on to the product conclusion. This is an awesome product that would work for anyone, and it's budget friendly for all the specs, all the features. It is very budget conscious, and it delivers over and above whatever you require. So if you're thinking about it, the Asus Vivobook 15 OLED ranks an 8.5 out of 10. Actually, you know what? I changed that. 8.7 out of 10. Just because I can, and just because I had so much of fun with the AMD processor, with this laptop. I mean, if I could push it a little bit higher, but let's leave some room for other people to gap in there now, right? But that'll just tell you, you know what, where I think that this sits, and it will suit everyone. I mean, it has the expanded keypad because it is a 16-inch laptop, so you get the keypad and the numbers on the side, so you can do your spreadsheets, you can do your video editing, and everything is all in well. So yeah guys, a very big thank you to Asus South Africa for sending me out the Asus Vivobook 15 with the Ryzen processor to have my first Ryzen experience and have my first Team Red experience as well. Yeah, so thank you to Asus South Africa for sending me out this laptop to review, to have some fun with. And if you'd like to check out the Asus Vivobook 15, a link is in the description below for you to check out. Guys, thanks for watching. My name is Prashant, and I'll catch you in the next video.